USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veterans' stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
My dad was in the Marines in World War II, and so when I got a little bit older, I got thinking about the military, and I joined the military reserve, the Marine Corps Reserve, which was 6 months of active duty, and then you could just go 1 weekend a month. And then the Vietnam War started up. This was all before the Vietnam. And when the Vietnam War started, I thought they would call us up, but they didn't. And so I volunteered and really had to push to get in. I was a 2531 field radio operator, and while I was in the reserves, and I also went to jump school at Fort Benning, and I was in this unit, Anglico. And Anglico stands for Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company. And we learned how to jump out of airplanes, we learned how to call in naval gunfire. That's why I was in the naval gun part. Other guys were in the air part. But we each cross-trained a little bit. So I had a little bit of training on calling in airstrikes. And well, that's what I wound up doing in Vietnam. I thought I was going to go to Anglico in active duty, because I had this training, I thought I should use it. And they changed me and said, no, you're going to the infantry. I said, okay. They didn't ask me why or anything, they just did it. This was when I was leaving Camp Pendleton, go to Vietnam the first time. I was a Lance Corporal, but I thought, I'm a scuzzy reservist, and I'm going to active duty, and I don't know squat compared to a actual, Marine. So I purposely missed meetings so that they would bust me, thinking I don't want to have the responsibility of a Lance Corporal, so they bust me down to private. And then when I got on active duty and I got over to Nam, and they looked at this, you have all these years and you're a private, you won. And they immediately said, you're an E2. And I quickly moved up the rank. And I was got Sergeant E5 by the time I got out. So I wound up going to 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines. And when I got there, they said, we're going to put you in close air control, because I had a tiny bit of that training. And so that's what I did. A Tactical Air Control Party is the name of it. This represents my time in Vietnam. And I just have this big map of the whole country, and the demilitarized zone is right there. And here's a close-up of that. And here is what they call the McNamara trace, the McNamara line, and we called it the trace. And it was cleared, and nothing was on there but dirt. The first place I went to was Alpha 3, and we were subject to artillery from North Vietnam hitting Alpha 3. Most people in Vietnam didn't have to deal with that heavy artillery. It was bad stuff. You hear it in the distance, like boom, 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 boom. And the other guy started running. I said, what's that? Some guy grabbed me and threw me on the ground. And then here comes the boom. And sometimes it's not even close, but you'll hear it go off. And then other times it's right at you. Scary. I mean, I don't know how else to scare the crap out of you. This is the COC at Alpha 3. This is the command of camp. And this is where we would do, I would be in there for radio work, and the colonel was there, everybody was there, all the higher officers. These are our officers. Company commander, XO, and the gunny. These are our bunkers. Got it?
Yeah.
That's me. This is Sparky, his name was, and these are shrapnel. He was standing right there when North Vietnamese artillery came in, and he came running inside. God damn, he almost got me, you know. This is our bunker. It took a direct hit from artillery, and we happened to be on patrol, thank goodness. Nobody got hurt. We would patrol south of the DMZ into, they called it Leatherneck Square, and it was full of enemy. So you go in there, you're gonna get into some combat. There was one, they put us in helicopters and sent us way over to the east near the coast. And it was so different because where I was jungle and hills and little bit of farming, not very much. And over there it was flat and you could see forever. There were some trees and some jungle, but not much. And we got into some really big firefights over there with the North Vietnamese. Well, we did where we were too, but in the jungles, the numbers weren't as high as in the flat area. And we had some really bad times over there. Just crossing a stream. Look at how deep it is right there. That's a guy up to his shoulders almost. This is way west, way out there by Khe Sanh. This is us boarding choppers to do an operation, I guess. Yeah, that's up. This is out west, way out near Khe Sanh, in the jungles are really big, you know, big trees and thick stuff. This is getting ready to get on choppers to go where, and that's way out west too. This is in the woods, way out west, in the mountains.
That looks rough terrain.
It is. They had a saying that the North Vietnamese said they want to grab the enemies, which I'm the enemy. They wanted to grab them by the belt. That way, they can't be hurt with all our power. So that was their try. So they'd get as close to us as they could. And of course, we didn't want that because we couldn't use our supporting arms. So we try to get them before they get in. Sometimes we'd go over to the next fire base over, and there was a bunch of ARVINs there. They were nice guys. They would, we could pay them to go get us go down and get me a bottle of scotch. He was an ARVIN. See how skinny his legs are? Yeah. Their uniforms were like really tight. And that's Frenchie, and there's me with a silly ARVIN hat, and he's got my helmet on. And that's us with our ARVIN hats on. That's me right there. And this was over at Jiolin, which is another base over up to the east a little bit. And we all had these silly hats on. These are the hats we got from the ARVINs. And the ARVINs would sell us dogs, little puppies. we would keep
Everybody had a dog, or is it
not
one mascot?
No, I mean, you have one dog per bunker. And we'd all feed it and give it names that I couldn't repeat. I should get this one out of the way. But that's called a piss tube. Originally that held an artillery shell. And they give them to us and we dig a hole and stick it in there and bury it. So everybody pisses down there so you're not having urine area all over the place. And this dog was called Piss Tube. That's me with my radio on. Well, they trained me really quick when I got into a TAC party. And that's a tactical air control party called a TAC party. And I went out with my company and with another guy training me. And because I had quite a bit of training from the reserves, he said, let him go. He's got it. And so I was talking to spotter planes, helicopters, calling in airstrikes with jets. This is an airstrike. They always come in pairs. And they were -1 and -2. And so the first one we would go in, and we would usually, if we could, we'd mark it with Willie Peter or something. So,
would that be like a smoke marker?
Yeah, right. We mark it with smoke, Willie Peter, what we call it. When -1 hit, you tell -2 where to drop the next, and napalm first, then the high explosives after that. And it was a big circle. They just kept going like that, you know. You can't believe what a B-52 can do. And we saw them all the time. We were in these big bunkers, and the whole bunker is going like that. It's arc lights, yeah. And we had pilots coming out with us too, for a short time to make sure we were doing everything right. And they were cool guys. We really liked them. And this is one of our air officers. He's a pilot, and he got sent down to us. And, and we would say, "Sir, how come they picked you to come out of your airplane and go out here with us?" And they all had a story. Yeah. And they all screwed up somewhere.
Which one is he?
Right there. And I also did Medevacs for wounded and dead. And that was tough. I worked very closely with our corpsmen. I ran Medevacs to the helicopter, and I go up to Doc DeVette, who is our corpsman. I said, "Doc," he wasn't a doctor, he was a, you know, like a nurse, really. I'd say, how many, what do we got? And we have categories. In other words, who goes first? Yeah. And I'm still close to this corpsman, me and Dr. Vet.
Wow.
But it was shitty. I mean, there were so many Medevacs. And then you had a permanent routine Medevac as a dead guy. A lot of those too. And this is on top of Dong Ha Mountain. And they built this like little thing for the choppers. And that's me under there to me. That's the same shot.
Yo.
I'm hooking up an external to take stuff out.
Did a little bit of everything, huh?
Yeah. And this is like the thing the chopper and I was standing on. That's, you know, to land on. See how high up it is?
Yeah.
I climbed that thing. We all did. I think that might be a priest. We're having church.
Oh, Christmas?
Yeah.
Did Santa Claus bring you anything?
Nah. That's me with a finger. I think I had jungle run. Drinking, getting the South Vietnamese.
Are you in there?
No, I think I took the picture.
Okay.
The most difficult times was losing friends. Wait a minute. My best friend was the RFO. It's a Lieutenant Dyer. He was a lieutenant. I was like a corporal or something. But it didn't matter. You know, I called in airstrikes, and he called in artillery, and we worked together for my company, and I think we did a good job. Dyer got killed, and he had a brother who was a helicopter pilot, and when he got killed, we called helicopters to take the bodies out, and guess who showed up? The brother. There's Dyer. He was the RDFO that was told you got killed, and his brother was the helicopter pilot who picked up his body. And that's our corpsman, Doc DeVette. He's from Pennsylvania. Nice guy, great guy. And I went to our corpsman, who was kind of like he was in charge of Medevacs. And I said, what do I say, you know? Because the brother always, the helicopter brother, always came and said, have 24 actual, which was his brother, come to the, you know, and they do a quick hello. And, you know, and he was coming to pick up the body of his brother. And of course the corpsman wrapped him up so good that so he wouldn't tell. And he wanted him to see him. I said, I told the brother, no, he's on patrol or something like that. I lied. And we threw his body into the helicopter and took it out. And he didn't know that happened until he contacted me years later after I was out of the Marine Corps, and we got together, and I told him then that he had actually carried his brother's body out. It sucked. It truly sucked. And there's Lieutenant Dyer. See his name? Frederick Dyer.
So what is that, a double exposure? You got it over top of the wall or something?
Yeah, well, this was a picture, and they gave me a copy of it because they knew I was tight with him. I think I got really lucky because after Vietnam, I was offered a job in Japan. For some reason, some screw up, I didn't have orders to where I'm supposed to go last. They called us into this officer, and he said, all right, man, listen up. I'm going to read off a list of Marine barracks around the world. When you hear one you want to go to, sound off. And the first one was Marine Barracks, Paris, France. And Shirley, my wife, is saying, why didn't you take that? So anyway, he said, Sasebo, Japan. And I went, Sasebo? I had heard something about Sasebo. All right, I'll take that one. And it was a good move for me, I think. Basically, I was like on guard duty on the front entrance into the place. So the guys would call me up and say, hey, 2513's coming your way. And 2513 was the license plate. And this was this officer's wife who had always low-cut dress. Remember, we're just above being teenagers. And, you know, good afternoon, man. So all the wives who were hot looking, we all knew their license plate numbers in the card, and there was only four digits, you know. I had so much stuff in my head that I didn't want to just go away, and I've always wanted to be a writer, but I'm a horrible speller. Horrible. But then they made spell check. And I wrote DMZ Diary, which was my first book. We went back to Vietnam again. What year was it? 18. This is Dong Ha Mountain, and this is Dong Ha Mountain in 2018 when we went back. And this is the flag on North Vietnam, which we saw in 2018, and this is what it looked like in '68. I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see Vietnam again. And the Vietnamese people, the older Vietnamese people, would see me looking around for Alpha 3 and stuff like that, and we were very friendly, and they'd come up and they'd say, you've been here before. And I went, 1968. He says, uh-huh. I went back to Alpha 3 and Alpha 2, I mean Alpha 4, which is Tien. The bunkers were still there, and there were big trees growing out of the sandbags. I was just curious to see it. And I had gone through a lot of training with the VA for the PTSD. I had been to, you know, I felt like I had handled it, and I'm okay now. And seeing it was just an interesting thing that I wanted to see. I mean, I remember I would come home and people would say, oh, thank God you made it. We're so happy for you. Now you can forget all about that crap. And I said, what? Forget it, you kidding? I mean, that's impossible. And I don't want to forget it, you know? And if I wanted to, I still couldn't. And you know, the civilians, and they were my friends, you know, the people I liked, my family. And they're telling me this, and I know they're saying it meaning with the right, good purpose, but it's not what you want to hear, because you can't forget it. I still can't forget it.